Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York, into a wealthy family that had already established itself in real estate. His father, Fred Trump, was a successful real estate developer who built a fortune constructing middle-class housing in Brooklyn and Queens. From an early age, Donald exhibited an aggressive personality, a drive for competition, and an eagerness to prove himself. He was sent to the New York Military Academy at the age of 13, where he developed discipline, leadership skills, and a love for commanding attention. As a young man, Donald was ambitious and focused. He attended Fordham University for 2 years before transferring to the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, one of the top business schools in the country. Even in college, he was not just a student, but a businessman in the making, learning from his father while setting his sights far beyond the boroughs of New York City. He wanted to make a name for himself, to build an empire that would not just be lucrative, but iconic. After graduating in 1968, Trump joined his father's real estate company, but he was not satisfied with simply managing the existing portfolio. He had a grander vision: to expand into Manhattan, the heart of New York City. At the time, Manhattan was a difficult market, filled with economic troubles and urban decay. But Trump saw an opportunity where others saw risk. In the 1970s, he made his first major deal by acquiring the Commodore Hotel, a struggling property near Grand Central Station. He convinced the city to grant tax abatements, allowing him to renovate and rebrand it as the Grand Hyatt. The project was a massive success, proving that Trump had the instincts and boldness to reshape the city's skyline. From that moment, he became one of the most recognizable names in real estate. In 1983, he completed Trump Tower, a gleaming skyscraper on Fifth Avenue that became a symbol of wealth and success. The building was not just a business venture, but a statement. Trump was no ordinary developer. He was a brand. The Trump name became synonymous with luxury, appearing on hotels, casinos, and resorts. The media took notice, and Trump himself relished the spotlight, cultivating an image of power, success, and extravagance. By the late 1980s, Trump's empire expanded beyond real estate. He dabbled in sports, purchasing the New Jersey Generals, a team in the United States Football League, USFL. He opened casinos in Atlantic City, most notably the Trump Taj Mahal, which was promoted as the world's most luxurious casino. He even ventured into airlines with the Trump Shuttle, a short-lived but high-profile airline service. However, despite his public image as a genius businessman, many of these ventures faced financial struggles. His aggressive expansion led to massive debt, and by the early 1990s, his empire was on the verge of collapse. Trump's businesses suffered major bankruptcies, and banks began distancing themselves from him. The real estate market downturn hit hard, and Trump was forced to sell off assets, including his airline and a yacht. His personal life also took a hit when his highly publicized marriage to Ivana Trump ended in divorce. For many, it seemed like Donald Trump's era of dominance was over. But Trump was not one to accept defeat. He fought his way back, renegotiating debts, rebranding his properties, and re-entering the public eye. He became a best-selling author with The Art of the Deal, which portrayed him as a master strategist. He leveraged his celebrity status, making frequent television appearances and regaining his place as a larger-than-life figure in American culture. In the 2000s, his career took a new turn when he became the host of The Apprentice, a reality television show that turned him into a pop culture phenomenon. Millions tuned in each week to watch Trump deliver his signature catchphrase, "You're fired." The show reinforced his image as a decisive, no-nonsense businessman, and his name became more powerful than ever. But Trump's ambitions did not stop at entertainment. He had flirted with politics for decades, hinting at presidential runs in 2012. However, it wasn't until 2015 that he made his move. When he announced his candidacy for the presidency, few took him seriously. Political experts dismissed him as a publicity stunt, a celebrity with no real chance of winning. But Trump defied expectations, using his unconventional campaign style to dominate media coverage. His blunt, often controversial rhetoric resonated with many voters who felt ignored by the political establishment. Trump's rise in the Republican primaries was unprecedented. He defeated seasoned politicians, winning state after state and securing the party's nomination. His general election battle against Hillary Clinton was one of the most divisive in American history. While many dismissed his chances, Trump's message of economic nationalism, border security, and an America First agenda connected with millions of Americans. On November 8, 2016, in a stunning political upset, he won the presidency. His time in the White House was marked by controversy, historic policy shifts, and an unorthodox governing style. He reshaped the Supreme Court, passed tax cuts, and engaged in aggressive trade negotiations. His presidency was also defined by constant battles with the media, political opponents, and even members of his own administration. The 2020 election was another defining moment in Trump's career. Facing Joe Biden, the campaign was overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic, economic challenges, and widespread political tensions. When Biden was declared the winner, Trump refused to concede, claiming widespread election fraud. The dispute culminated in the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, leading to his second impeachment. Even after leaving office, Trump remained a dominant force in American politics, with speculation about a possible return to the presidency. His legacy remains one of the most polarizing in history, seen by some as a champion of American strength and by others as a figure of chaos and division. Yet, regardless of opinion, one thing is undeniable. Donald Trump changed the political and cultural landscape of America forever. After the tumult of the 2020 election, Donald Trump found himself at a crossroads. Despite his loss, he maintained a hold over a large faction of the Republican Party and the American public. His post-presidency period saw a continued dominance in the political arena, where his influence was undeniable. Even as many of his allies distanced themselves or declared their loyalty to his successor, Joe Biden, Trump's brand of politics continued to resonate with millions. His post-presidential life was consumed with legal battles, public appearances, and a constant presence in the media. But Trump was not just any former president. He was a leader in exile, still commanding a cult-like following. His rallies, though smaller in scale than his pre-2020 events, were filled with fervor and passion. Whether they were held in small towns or major cities, these gatherings were a testament to Trump's lasting impact on American politics. In the years following his presidency, the Republican Party was divided. Some members rallied around the idea of Trumpism, a brand of politics that mixed populism, nationalism, and conservative values. Others, however, yearned for a return to traditional Republican values, distancing themselves from Trump's divisive rhetoric. The fractures within the party were deep, and it was clear that the 2024 presidential race would be shaped by the figure of Donald Trump, whether he formally announced his candidacy or not. In the summer of 2023, Trump made it clear that he was not done yet. He officially launched his campaign for the presidency once again, seeking to reclaim the White House. His entry into the race was met with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. For many of his supporters, Trump was the only person who could restore America to what they believed was its former greatness. For his detractors, however, his presence was a reminder of the chaos and division he had sowed during his time in office. The road to 2024 was not without obstacles. As he campaigned, Trump faced numerous legal challenges, including investigations into his business practices, his role in the events of January 6th, and his handling of classified documents. These legal battles were a constant distraction, but Trump used them to his advantage, positioning himself as a victim of a political witch hunt. To his supporters, these challenges only reinforced his image as a man fighting against a corrupt establishment. As the 2024 primaries approached, Trump faced growing competition from within his own party. Several high-profile Republicans, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former Vice President Mike Pence, entered the race, challenging his hold on the Republican nomination. But Trump's base remained fiercely loyal, and his ability to command the media spotlight made him a formidable candidate. His rallies were packed with enthusiastic crowds chanting his name, and his online presence remained as powerful as ever. Trump's campaign focused on themes that had made him popular in 2016: immigration reform, economic nationalism, and a rejection of globalism. He positioned himself as the voice of the forgotten American people, fighting for the working class and opposing what he saw as the elite establishment. His platform resonated with millions who felt alienated by years of political gridlock and the erosion of traditional American values. However, his 2024 campaign was not without its challenges. The country had changed in the years since his presidency. The political landscape was more polarized, and issues like climate change, healthcare, and racial justice had become central to national debates. Trump's rhetoric on these issues was divisive, and his response to the changing dynamics of the country was often seen as tone-deaf. His insistence on dismissing the impact of climate change and his failure to address systemic racism made him a target for criticism from progressives and moderates alike. Despite these challenges, Trump's popularity within the Republican Party remained strong. In early primary states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, he led in the polls, though the race remained tight. As the primary season continued, Trump's rivals began to attack him more directly, accusing him of being a divisive figure and questioning his ability to unite the country. But Trump remained undeterred. He continued to speak to the frustrations of his base, promising to restore American greatness and take on the deep state that he believed had undermined his presidency. The 2024 Republican National Convention became a turning point. After a contentious primary season, Trump secured the party's nomination, once again becoming the Republican standard-bearer. His victory in the primaries, while hard-fought, solidified his status as the leader of the party. As the general election campaign began, Trump faced a formidable opponent in President Joe Biden, who was running for re-election. The general election was a battle for the soul of the nation. Trump's base remained energized, while Biden sought to build a broad coalition of moderates, progressives, and disillusioned Republicans. The election was expected to be one of the most contentious in American history, with both candidates presenting starkly different visions for the future of the country. As the race progressed, Trump's campaign focused on issues like immigration reform, economic recovery, and opposition to what he called the radical left. He painted Biden as a puppet of the Democratic establishment, accusing him of being weak on crime and foreign policy. Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again, Again," became a rallying cry for his supporters, who believed that his leadership was the key to reclaiming America's place in the world. However, the 2024 election was not just about policy. It was a battle of personalities. Trump's confrontational style and unapologetic approach to politics stood in stark contrast to Biden's calm, measured demeanor. The two men were polar opposites, and the election became a referendum on Trump's style of leadership and the direction of the country. As the election day drew closer, the country found itself more divided than ever. Trump's supporters viewed him as a champion of freedom and traditional values, while his opponents saw him as a threat to democracy. The 2024 election was not just about politics. It was about identity, culture, and the future of America. The stakes could not have been higher. As Election Day in 2024 approached, the country seemed to be on edge. It was not just another presidential election. It had become a battle for the soul of the nation. The political landscape was more polarized than ever, with each side deeply entrenched in its beliefs. Trump's supporters viewed him as the last line of defense against what they perceived as an overreaching government and a society moving too far away from traditional values. To them, Trump was the embodiment of strength, unapologetically defending American interests at home and abroad. On the other hand, Biden's supporters saw his presidency as a stabilizing force in an increasingly chaotic world. They believed that his policies, focused on climate action, healthcare expansion, racial equity, and economic reform, were steering the country in the right direction. Biden was seen by many as the antidote to Trump's divisiveness, a man who would unite the country after the tumult of the past years. In the months leading up to the election, the race intensified. Trump continued to dominate the media, using his platform to keep his base energized. He organized massive rallies where the energy was electrifying, and his supporters, fervent, passionate, and unwavering, chanted his name. Despite his age, Trump's public persona was larger than life. and his campaign events resembled rock concerts more than political gatherings. His speeches were bold, combative, and often laced with his signature bombast, pointing fingers at the establishment and promising to drain the swamp once and for all. Biden, for his part, maintained a quieter, more traditional approach. His campaign was built on outreach, attempting to bridge the divide between the far-left progressives and centrist Democrats, all while reaching out to independents and even moderate Republicans who were disillusioned with Trump's brand of politics. His rallies were less crowded, but the energy from his supporters was equally passionate, driven by the desire to prevent Trump from returning to the White House. His message was one of healing, of restoring normalcy, and of fighting for the common good in a time of unprecedented division. The debates between the two candidates were nothing short of historic. They were fiery, combative, and filled with sharp exchanges. Trump, ever the showman, attacked Biden at every turn, labeling him a puppet of the left and accusing him of being weak on critical issues. Biden, who had always been known for his temperate, more measured responses, seemed to struggle at times to match Trump's level of aggression, but when he did, it was clear he had the experience and steadiness to counter Trump's erratic style. The candidates were not just debating policy, but ideologies. Trump's rhetoric, which had once seemed unpolished, now felt almost strategic, as if he were speaking directly to the heart of America's cultural and political divides. He continued to frame the election as a struggle for America's future, a stark choice between those who wanted to preserve what they viewed as the nation's founding ideals and those who, in his words, sought to fundamentally transform it. The phrase, "Make America Great Again, Again," was emblazoned on hats, shirts, and billboards across the country. Meanwhile, Biden focused on a message of continuity and healing. He stressed that America had weathered many storms, and though the challenges were great, the country's best days were ahead. His platform was focused on continuing the recovery from the pandemic, tackling climate change, and expanding social safety nets for those who had been left behind. He spoke of unity, warning that Trump's approach to leadership had not only divided the country, but also endangered its future. But even with the ideological battle playing out in full force, the reality of American democracy meant that the campaign would ultimately be decided at the ballot box. Voting was more critical than ever, and as the election drew closer, accusations of voter fraud and irregularities became central to the conversation. Trump, echoing claims from his 2020 election defeat, warned that the system was rigged and urged his supporters to turn out in overwhelming numbers to ensure a fair result. Biden's camp, on the other hand, urged calm and confidence, stating that the integrity of the election system would be upheld. When the night of November 5th, 2024 arrived, the nation held its breath. Voter turnout had been higher than in any election in recent history, with millions of Americans casting their votes early or by mail due to ongoing concerns about the pandemic. As the results started to trickle in, it quickly became clear that the election would be close. The electoral map began to shift in real time, with key battleground states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona seeing tight races. Trump's strongholds in the South and Midwest helped propel him forward, but Biden managed to secure crucial victories in states like California, New York, and Illinois. The early returns were dramatic. One moment, Trump was ahead. The next, Biden had overtaken him. The media declared that the outcome of the election could take days to resolve due to the sheer volume of mail-in ballots that needed to be counted. In the days following the election, the tension reached a boiling point. As each state counted its ballots, the gap between the candidates narrowed, and Trump's rhetoric became more heated. He once again insisted that the election had been stolen, despite there being no substantial evidence to back his claims. Protests erupted in some cities, while his supporters, too, began to question the fairness of the process. By the weekend, it was clear. Biden had narrowly won enough states to secure a second term in office, though the result was not without controversy. His victory was confirmed by the Electoral College vote, and he delivered a speech calling for unity and reconciliation, urging Americans to come together and heal the wounds that had been caused by years of division. Biden's supporters celebrated, and the nation began to turn its eyes toward the future. But Trump, ever the force of nature, refused to accept the loss quietly. He immediately filed lawsuits in several states, challenging the results and alleging widespread voter fraud. The courts, however, ruled in favor of the integrity of the election, and on January 20th, 2025, Joe Biden was sworn in for his second term as president. Trump's post-election life was again filled with uncertainty. He faced numerous legal battles, including criminal investigations into his business practices, his role in the events of January 6th, and his handling of classified documents. But despite these challenges, he remained an influential figure within the Republican Party. His influence over the party's base was as strong as ever, and many began to speculate about a potential third run for the presidency in 2028. In the years to come, historians would continue to debate Trump's legacy. Some would view him as a disruptor, a man who shattered the status quo and gave voice to a disaffected segment of the American population. Others would see him as a deeply divisive figure, whose actions and rhetoric threatened the very fabric of American democracy. But no matter how history judged him, there was one thing that could not be denied. Donald Trump had changed the political landscape forever, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the United States. Donald Trump's journey is a testament to ambition, resilience, and the power of self-belief. Whether admired or criticized, his impact on business and politics is undeniable. His story reminds us that success comes to those who dare to take risks and stand firm in their vision. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy Spoken English for more inspiring stories and English learning content. See you in the next video.